Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Katie Dyer, and I'm a technical account manager here at Cireson. And along with me is Billy Wilson, who's our solutions architect, and he will be providing the demo for us today. Today, we're going to be discussing how to expand the service catalog beyond IT to other departments. When visiting with several customers a few weeks ago, this was a common request. We thought it'd be a great idea to do a webinar on this, as it's been a common request that's come up in conversations throughout the community. But before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. This is a non-interactive session today. However, if you do have questions, please feel free to add those in the chat window. And at the end of the session, we'll go through some Q&A and follow up with you on that. Another thing to note is we are recording this session today, and it will be available on our Vimeo site within the next day or two, and that's vimeo.com/teamcireson. Okay, let's get started. So here's a look at the agenda today. First, we're going to cover a little bit about just a bit of background of who we are, what we do as a company, and then we'll touch on some of the benefits and why it makes sense to consider expanding the service catalog beyond IT, and move into the approach for how to do this. And then following that, we'll get into the demo. Billy will take us through. We'll cover the security configuration, some of the out-of-the-box benefits of using System Center, Service Manager, and Cireson, as well as customizations and configurations of the Cireson portal from both an end user and an analyst perspective. Next, we'll cover a little bit about the Cireson community for anyone who might not be familiar. And we do actually have a great place for collaboration on this topic in particular. So I'll show you that. And then lastly, we'll get into some next steps and Q&A. All right, a little bit about Cireson. Cireson is a mature software company that's been building solutions for System Center for about 6 years now. We have a depth of experience in both the IT service and asset management space. So over the last 6 years, we have acquired about over 1,200 customers now in 65 different countries. And we started off actually as a consulting business and have delivered over 43,000 hours worth of consulting to date. One thing we're really proud of is the fact that we have a very high renewal rate with happy customers, as well as a fabulous global support team that follows the sun. And we have offices in San Diego, in Europe, in Australia, so you can reach them at any time. We've got a lot of recognitions in our industry. Down at the bottom, you can see some of the awards that we've achieved, and if you'd like, we have some more information on those on our website, so feel free to check those out. Now, as you can see here, we can scale to any organization pretty much across all different verticals. I'm not going to go into too many details as to who our customers are, but feel free to check out our website on this as well, because we do have many different case studies published up there. So I definitely recommend taking a look at that. Now, moving into the topic of the day, why should we expand the service catalog beyond IT? Well, first and foremost, to save money and leverage your existing investment. So there's no need to manage multiple systems when you've already invested the time and money into your current one and can leverage that to actually expand the service catalog to other departments. You can also provide a one-stop shop for your end users. So everything they need to request, whether it's to submit a service request, report an issue, check out the knowledge base, you can keep it really simple for them and direct them to a single one-stop shop, for your customers. And you can also use redirect links. So even if they're coming to that site and you direct them to somewhere else, they're still seeing that single pane of glass when they get there. And Billy will show you that in the demonstration today. You can also customize the experience to suit different departments. We do understand that different departments need to view and gather different pieces of information, so we do allow for this flexibility. And again, Billy will show you how we can customize that. Standardize processes and allow for automation. Again, this doesn't need to be limited to strictly IT departments. If you are currently, using Service Manager and Cireson for this within IT, but you can expand this beyond and put these processes and workflows in place for these other departments to increase efficiencies there as well. Improve inter-department process flows. One great example of this, which Billy will touch on an example here too, but onboarding is a very common request that touches multiple departments. So having the ability to create these requests and automatically assign tasks to different departments directly to complete these workflows is one of a very powerful benefit here. And last but not least, improve time to success. So getting these requests in the right hands of the right team, immediately triggering the appropriate workflow to get these requests closed as quickly as possible. And these are just a few of the benefits of expanding the service catalog beyond IT. Next, taking a look at the approach, which we'll cover today. First, you're going to decide on the support groups that you want to add. So maybe different departments or teams within those departments. You can create support groups as well as your enumeration list. Following that, we'll create different queues, scoping down which teams have access to different work items, as well as any required access to configuration items. Next, we'll create the security roles and grant the appropriate access there within Service Manager. Following that, we can create notification and work item templates. And last but not least, do any customizations and gather feedback from different departments, as well as end users for the service catalog that you've built, and go through this process again and continue to add and expand and build upon the service catalog. So with that, we're going to swing right into the demo so Billy can show you how exactly this works. Billy, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay.
Sorry about that. I had mute problems. Thank you very much. Let me set up my screen real quick. Okay. Katie, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. So thank you. Welcome in again. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Billy Wilson. I've been with Cireson for almost 2 years now as a solutions architect. And a little bit of background on myself. I came to Cireson actually as a client. I worked for a oil and gas project engineering company in Houston where I live, and we had Service Manager, and we expanded Service Manager. We started out in IT just with the inter-IT departments, and then we expanded out to project engineering application support groups, infrastructure groups, office management groups, stuff like that. So that's where kind of my experience comes from, that kind of thing. So I'm going to show you basically how we did this. We had about 400 analysts globally. We had offices all over the world, and being able to work inside of one service management system was definitely a huge benefit because a lot of our process flows overlapped. So it gave us the ability to be able to route work items interdepartmental, where it made sense. And I'll be showing you a little bit about how we did that. So just to get started here, one of the things that I had to do, and as a side benefit, having all these different groups. So we had a little over 20 different support groups and departments outside of IT. Another benefit of doing that is we actually got them to share the budget load for using the same ITSM system, which helps a lot. So starting out, we had set up Service Manager for IT. And to be able to expand it out, we had to make some changes and make some additions. So that's kind of what I'm going to walk you through now. So inside of Service Manager, we have our list enumeration. So that's where I started. That's where you generally need to start to be able to expand it out. So if I come down here to incident classification, you can see that I've got incident classification lists that correspond directly to IT issues, IT type problems that are in there. But if I scroll down, you can see that I built a header for HR, facilities, and finance problems. And for the purposes of this demo, you're going to see the departments that we're going to deal with outside of IT are going to be HR, facilities, and finance. And for those of you that have seen my other ITSM demos one-on-one, I generally use those as my as my example departments. So in HR, I can drop down and see I have benefits issues. For facilities, I have building access and service issues. And finance problems, I can do payroll issue, and the list can go on and on. But what you're seeing, the beauty of having a nested tiered enumeration list is, you have the ability to set apart the different departments' classifications. And we've actually had requests from some of our customers is there a way to be able to limit these based on, like, say, if I chose a support group in an incident of HR, can I just see HR problems? And so I've reached out to our Cireson consulting group, and to be honest with you, if you go to our community website, we have a lot of very, very smart clients that have gone in there and actually made customizations on their own. So, I'm sure they would echo, if they haven't already done it, what our consulting services told me, that it's absolutely possible to be able to do it that way with some customization in the Cireson portal. So that's something, if you're interested in that, we can help you out with that. So getting your classification list down is huge, because you need that for reporting. You want to be able to separate out in reporting structures what IT tickets are versus what the other department's tickets are, and so on and so forth. The other thing that you need to do is you need to be able to separate out the support groups. And this actually becomes more important in when you add on the functionality of Cireson, and I'll show you why in a minute. So you can see here that I have several different support groups underneath IT services, and I have just standard support groups for HR, finance, and facilities, and that can go deeper if those departments are large enough for you to split those out. So, you have that capability there. So getting your list items right, and be able to expand those out to bring in these other departments is kind of the first step. So the next step is going to be, if you need to decide whether or not you need to segment out work items based on security reasons. So for this, inside of Service Manager, we use queues. Queues are logical groupings of work items based on criteria that you set, and then you have the ability to use queues in either security roles or in SLO configurations for SLA management. So you can see that I have queues here for SLO for IT, and then I have queues for non-HR and HR service requests. So the reason I set it that way is, if you're a member of HR, then in my example here, you have the ability to see everything. And just kind of a best practice or a tip on doing queues, you want to take a very minimalist approach when creating queues. And the reason is because queues are workflow driven, the workflow engine for Service Manager. The more queues you have and the broader the queues are, the more the workflow engine has to evaluate absolutely every work item to see if it matches up with the criteria of the queue. So the more that you have in here, the harder your workflow engine is going to work. And a lot of times that can be a detriment to performance. So you want to keep it as simple as you can. So for my purposes, from a security standpoint, the only tickets that I don't want other people to be able to see are HR tickets, because they may have some information in them that we don't want the general user to see. So while HR can see everything and I don't need queues for everything, I have HR incidents here, and basically my criteria was just the support group does not equal HR. And the way I did that is I set it up to where in the security, and I'll show you in a second, to where everybody else can only see any tickets that are not associated with HR, whereas HR can see everything. And then of course I have specific incidents based on priority for the application of the service level agreement or service level objects within there. So you can have more of those, but that's one of the way that you can also segment off tickets. But to be honest with you, I always am of the philosophy of the more the departments can work together and share tickets between them in their workflows, the more efficient the company runs as a whole. Another thing that you have the ability to segment off are groups. So groups apply to either configuration items or service catalog items. So for the most part, unless there are some configuration items that you really need to restrict, you may not use that as much, but definitely if you're going to segment off your service catalog and your portal, you're going to use that more. So you can see for my purposes that I have a public service catalog and internal infrastructure requests. The rest of these are part of our survey app and general out-of-the-box type of groups that are available with Service Manager. But for the purposes of this, I have internal IT infrastructure requests and public service catalog. And the reason I did it that way is I'm going to have request offerings to request certain IT services like building out a server or opening things in the firewall or doing network related issues that I don't want just anybody to be able to have access to create a request for. So I'm definitely going to have review activities, and I'm going to have approvals to be able to stopgap that. But it's better to keep people that don't really have any business making such a request, giving them the ability to even see or submit a request in the beginning, and that's how you do it with catalog group items. Excuse me. So with infrastructure requests, I have creating a server. And with the public service catalog is basically all other service requests or service offerings and request offerings, except for the ones that are involved in this group. And you'll see kind of what that looks like in the portal in a minute. So you separate out your work items and your configuration items and your service catalogs by using these lists. The other thing you can do is separate out by using templates. So a lot of organizations use templates. You have to use templates in your request offerings, but you can also use templates to be able to apply quick information to an incident or a service request directly out of the portal or out of the console. So you can see here that I've created a general incident template for facilities department. And then in this template that they can select, their classification categories, facilities problems is already there. They can go deeper into that. And then their support group is already set at facility services. So now all they have to do is fill out the rest of the information. And so you can set that off in other things. And then other templates you can use are directly for the portal. I'm actually going to show you one of those templates in a minute as kind of a request offering where different departments work together to fulfill the same request. So the next part about it, going back to the slide and in the steps to get started is security settings. So here you're going to set up your user roles, who has access to what. So you can say you're going to see that I have a specific IR resolvers group for HR. So when I pull that up, you can see that HR has access to all work items. But if I jump into the catalog groups, you can see that they only have access to the public service catalog. Where if I come into IT, by way of comparison, you can see that IT only has access to non-HR incidents, so anything that doesn't get assigned to the HR support group, but they have access to all catalog items because members of IT should be able to request servers where it makes sense and so on and so forth. So that's, you set up your security roles and stuff like that. So some of the Cireson based apps that we have that really lend to having a multi-department IT service management system out of the box. One of the things that we have with our analyst portal is the ability to map support groups directly to Active Directory groups. And I'll show you the benefits of what that looks like in the analyst portal in a minute, but in the settings, you can see that I'm able to map the support group facility services to an actual Active Directory group called facilities. Same with finance. If I expand IT, you can see I've mapped all of these, and I've done that with, I can do that with service requests. I can do that with change requests, and I can also do that with manual activities. So one of the things that we do a lot of is, especially if you're doing interdepartmental, and a lot of people are going to be doing service request management and using activities, out of the box, Service Manager does not have the support group relationship for manual activities, but there are many extensions out there that you can apply. You can build one yourself, or you can go to our community website, and we actually have a Cireson extension for adding support groups to manual activities. So, and the thing I like about that, that's the one I used here, is not only does it add the manual support group mapping, an extension to be able to do that, but it also adds it in the portal as well. So you'll have the ability to assign manual activities to actual support groups instead of just activity implementers. So that's one definite benefit, and I'll show you that in a minute. The other benefit we have is with our notify analysts. So we have the ability to actually notify by support group. So what it does is it takes that association from support group to actual membership of an Active Directory group that's tied to that. And so you're able to get the notifications for incidents, for change requests, for service requests, and for manual activities directly to support groups. So the HR department, the members of the HR support group will get notified when tickets get assigned to them. Same with facilities, same with you know, the HR group or the finance group. And you don't have to create all these notification subscriptions yourself. We've done that for you. So that's kind of one of the ways to do that. So I'm going to jump back over here to templates, and I'm going to show you kind of an example of how a service can be used interdepartmentally. So when I open this template, this is the template for my onboarding request in the portal, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So you can see that I have, you know, the general stuff like that, but here's the activity workflow that's part of this. So you can see the first activity is validation, a review activity to actually approve this request, and then a manual activity to create an Active Directory account, because everything kind of flows from that Active Directory account. Now I could have automated all these too if I wanted to, but for the purposes of this, I'm showing you in a work item workflow. So now you can see that I have a parallel activity here because I have multiple work streams that can happen at the same time. So I have a work stream to assign and deploy computer equipment. I have a work stream to assign and deploy mobile equipment. Now these two are IT related, but I also have manual activities to set up the benefits for this user, to set up payroll for this user, to set up to the office for this user. And these templates are already assigned to those support groups because that's all part of the onboarding process. So the thing is, this service to request onboarding of an employee does not get completed until everybody does their part, not just IT. So instead of IT having to send an email out to HR to set up their benefits, or send an email out to facilities to get them an access card or set up an office, or send an email out to finance to set them up on payroll, it's actually all part of the same workflow happening in an efficient work stream that works for everybody. So pretty much out of the box, this is how Service Manager can help you, you know, with being able to support a multi-departmental service management system. So let's go a little further. Let's see a little bit about what Cireson can do. Now I showed you in the portal mapping and the notify analyst settings, but another way that we can help you is with what we call advanced request offering. So if I go into my service catalog and I'm going to use publish request offerings, you can see one of the things that Katie mentioned was direct links. So you can see that I actually have a request offering to submit an expense report. So if I open this up, you're going to see, you know, using the out-of-the-box request offering editor, that I have user prompts, which I have none, configure, nothing mapped, anything like that. It's just simply the title, the image, and the template and the description. But if I open it up in Cireson's advanced request offering, you're going to see that what I've done with this request offering is simply made it a direct link to another website. So this is something that is very handy in making your Cireson user portal a one-stop shop for everybody. So instead of them having to go to a different intranet site to submit expenses, I could easily add in request offerings for PTO requests or request offerings for project management systems if you have those internally as well. You can add all of those in, and I'll show you what that looks like in the portal itself. And then in the onboarding, I'll just show you that one real quick. Edit my advanced request offering. You're going to see that as part of my mapping, I'm able to come down here to the office, benefits, and payroll and fill in the description and information. And, you know, as part of my onboarding, and you'll see that in a minute, you give the ability to request hardware, request mobile device, request software, request security group access, and so on and so forth. Well, maybe benefits, payroll, and finance don't really need to see all that. So I can actually, I can actually, you know, just leave that data out and only give them what they need to see. So that's one of the other benefits of the advanced request offering. So let's look at the portal. Let's look at what are some of the configurations and customizations we can do to make it easier for the end user. So I'm going to log into the portal here as an end user. So let me log in. And you're going to notice that for those of you that have seen our portal out of the box, mine does not look like that. I've actually done some customization on mine for the end user perspective. What I've done with mine is some simple customization to give me a home page that shows 3 icons. I need something, something's not working, and I have a question. So the way I've structured this is kind of trying to get into the head of the end user and give them the easiest time to be able to navigate into the self-service portal. And the reason I've done that is it's my experience that portal adoption is something that's kind of difficult to drive, especially by IT itself. You know, unless you have members of XCOM, you know, send down a commandment, thou shalt use the portal when submitting tickets rather than call and email, trying to get them to do that, you know, just from an IT standpoint can be a little difficult because people just have their ways of doing things. So, and you know, it's definitely bigger benefit to fill out forms in the portal because you're standardizing the information that goes into these work items, thereby limiting having to triage or go back and get more information. So I made it as simple as I need to make a service request. These are all service requests. Or I need to report an incident. These are all incidents. I have a question. These would also be service requests, a simple service request, because even if my analysts are just answering a question, and I could easily, you know, just change this to a knowledge base. But if they have a question that's not in the knowledge base and they need to ask one and my analysts need to answer it, I still have to track that time. So I want a work item for it. So let's go into I need something. These are service requests. You're going to see that off the top, I've broken this down into departments. So the way it's structured from within Service Manager is this. The IT requests, HR requests, facilities requests, and finance requests are all service offering categories. That is the top level for the service catalog. So within the service offering categories, we have the actual service offerings. So if I go into IT equipment requests, you can see I can request IT hardware. If I go into something like IT access requests, you can see that I have access request, adds user security group. These are all request offerings. So when I click on this, I'm going to go to the actual form. And if I go into HR and facilities requests, you can see that I have furniture requests, facility access groups, payrolls, everything like that. One thing you're not going to see that you don't see right here are any requests under IT requests to request servers or infrastructure items. Remember, in the service catalog groups and in my security roles, I've made it to where general end users or anybody outside of IT can't even see those. So that makes it easy. And I can come into HR benefits requests, come in here, and then request a change to my HR benefits if that's something I need to do right off the top of the bat. So I'm not going to submit this. I've actually already submitted one before, but that's what makes it easier to work with. So you can see that we've structured our homepage for our end users by different departments. Now, another thing you could do is you could simply have a separate homepage for each department if that's something that you wanted to lock down. There are many ways that you can do that. And Katie's actually going to be talking about at the end of this how some, you know, a place to go to see where some of our clients have done some really cool stuff. So now I'm going to log out of this and I'm going to log in as an analyst to show you from an analyst perspective how that looks. So if I jump in here and log in as just an IT analyst, then you can see that immediately I'm taken to my work page. So these are all the work items that are assigned directly to Joey, the analyst. But one of the things that I have the ability to do is also see all of the work items that are assigned to any support groups that I'm a member of. So back when I showed you the portal mapping settings, you can see that as a member of the Active Directory groups for the support groups that I have, then I can see all of the work items that are assigned to that, even if they're different support groups, that I have the ability to see that. So that's something that's very handy to do. And if I come in here, you know, I have the ability as an analyst to be able to get my general user information and stuff like that. But you also have the ability to customize and see different information based on being from different groups. So let's see what that looks like from an HR perspective. So I'm going to log out of this and I'm going to log in as somebody from HR. Oh, by the way, let me just show you real fast. I'm going to log back in as Joey. And I'm going to go to my home page and I'm going to go to I need something. And you can see Joey has access to internal infrastructure application services because Joey's a member of IT. So again, the ability to segment out. So now I'm going to log back in as HR. And again, I'm going to be taken to my work page because I'm an analyst instead of an end user. End users are generally taken to the home page because they don't have any analyst type situations. May take a second. My laptop is overheating a little bit. Isn't this always the way? You know what? Let me try a whole new session. It might help. Just a second. Tell you what, while that's loading, I'm going to jump over back to my server, and log in from here, and see if that helps at all. Being directly on the server versus being on the workstation. Doesn't appear so to this point. So what you're going to see when this finally loads is, assuming it loads, is that when I log in and go into an incident that's assigned to HR, then you're going to see different fields that I have available to me that don't show up for anybody else. Oh, and we have an error. That's not good. Do a cache clean. Try one more time. Well, unfortunately, this does not appear to be working. Well, wait a minute. Oh, good. I found it came up on my server side. So you can see that I have this benefits incidents that's been submitted by Chad directly to my support group in my work. So when I go into this ticket, as soon as it loads, I'll be able to show you that I have specific customizations only because I'm a member of that support group and I've logged in that way. So, and these are simple customizations that are not really hard to do. So a lot of these customizations are out in the community, and if they're not, the ones we're showing you now, we'll go ahead and set those up for you. Give it one more minute. So Katie, while this is loading, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you so you can finish off the slides.
Okay.
And then we'll come back to this once it, oh, wait. Looks like we might have something here. Apologies for the lab. Obviously, everything was working like a top before this started, so that's just my mojo. You'll have to forgive me for that. But you can see here that as a member of HR, that I have extra fields for the user Chad House. I can see his employee ID, his city, his department, and his employee type, because those things are actually important to me as an HR person. So, you know, I hope we've been able to show you a few ways to get started down this road. If there are a lot of more things that you want to do to be able to do that, we can help you out. You can contact us, and Katie's going to give you more information about that. But I just hope that this has been beneficial to you, and I thank you for bearing with me during this lab. I'm going to turn it back over to Katie. There you go, Katie.
Perfect. Thanks, Billy. Let me just share my screen again. I only had a couple additional slides. Can you see my screen, Billy?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Here, as we were talking about earlier, we wanted to touch on the Cireson community. And in case you're not familiar with this, this is a great spot for collaboration. Excuse me, my mic. For collaboration. So whether it's anything System Center related or Cireson related, feedback on products, you can submit and vote on feature requests. It's a great spot in the community to collaborate. And one thing that we did want to highlight today is we do have a discussion currently open with a couple of customer examples on here. Let me just log in to show you this community thread that has some really cool live examples of what customers have done to expand the service catalog beyond IT. So I definitely recommend checking this site out and posting what you have done, or if you're looking for any recommendations, feel free to check out our community and search for this posting here. All right, and as we mentioned at the beginning, we did start out as a consulting business, and we've done extensive work in building out service catalogs and automating processes. So if you are looking for assistance with this, please feel free to reach out to us. Or if you're looking for, a 30-day trial of any of our solutions, our email is right there on the screen. It's team@cireson.com. Hopefully this presentation was helpful, and thank you again, Billy, for walking us through that demonstration and showing us the approach and how we can actually get this set up in some of those customizations. With that, we will open it up for Q&A.
We already have some questions.
Awesome.
So first question, any tips for managing the work item data in the data warehouse? For example, work items only HR should be able to view. Great question. First thing is to make sure that they don't have direct access to the HR data or to the data warehouse database. So that's one of the first things you're going to lock down. Second thing is, and I should have showed it to you, but as part of the portal, we have a application called Cireson Analytics, which is basically a dashboard and reporting builder. And we give you the ability to lock that down based on your Active Directory group access to who can see it. So if you needed to be able to report on data that's in the data warehouse for specific groups eyes only, that would be a way to do it. Another way to do it would be, not using that, would be directly using SSRS, but definitely want to lock down read access, or any direct access to the data warehouse if you're going to be using specific information that is in that you don't want anybody else to be able to see. Okay, another question. Let me look at this. In terms of licensing both Microsoft and Cireson and SCSM, does this allow a single instance to support multiple customers? Is this the recommended approach? Assume it is multiple support groups within a single organization, not going across multiple organizations. That's a good question. And if I'm reading this the way I think I read it, yes, it does allow a single instance to support multiple customers. You just break out the customers in the way that I've done you. Now, as from a Microsoft licensing, it's my understanding that that's pretty much site-based, depending on your EA. I'm not sure exactly of the new licensing levels with the cows and stuff like that from an SCSM standpoint. But from Cireson's standpoint, we license based, and Katie can correct me if I'm wrong, we license based on user tiers. So the whole company. So as many people as want, depending on the size of the company, can use the portal and the analytics piece and analyst piece as you want. You're not limited. You're not licensing by support group or anything like that. Does that sound right, Katie?
Yes, we do license based on total end user count.
Okay, cool. Thanks. Another question. What's your recommendation for easiest creation of custom forms for an IT pro? If you're talking about like incident forms and stuff like that, we have a ton of tips on our Vimeo website and on our community website on how to do that. The basic best practice from the Cireson portal side is we have a folder within the INET-Pub, the website folder called Custom Space. And the way it works is all of our forms that are out of the box, you can create a copy of that form and customize it and drop that form into the Custom Space folder. And the application is designed to look in the Custom Space folder for that form before it loads. And if it doesn't see it, it loads the default form. So what you can do is you can make your customizations in that for that form in that folder. For example, the form that I used for HR is called incident.js. And So I put an incident.js form in that custom space folder, and I added my customizations for HR and stuff like that. And again, we have a ton of recommendations on how to get started. And actually, it's my understanding we may have more deep dive videos, than you've seen here, there. If not already on there, then upcoming. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, that's definitely the recommendation. We never recommend customizing the out-of-the-box forms. Leave them where they are and copy them over to the custom space. I'm sorry, Katie, I cut you off. What were you saying?
Oh, just going to add to that, we do have a knowledge article on our knowledge base. So I will follow up with you directly, Bill, and I can provide you a link to that. But basically, if you search our knowledge base for custom forms, something should pop up. Our videos will probably go into more depth on that, but it does show you the locations of the fields and how to a location of the files and how to copy that over and where, how you can customize that. So I'll follow up with you directly, but for anyone else, if you'd like to search our knowledge base, we do have an article or two on there for how to customize the forms.
Excellent. For multiple customers, can you have multiple return emails from Service Manager? If you're talking about automated emails that go out directly from Service Manager uses only one SMTP account for that. So this is something I'm actually going to write it down as an action item to check with our CCS, because memory serves, there are custom ways you can do this, either using Orchestrator or directly from customization workflows within. So I'll take it as an action item to follow up on that. Great question, though.
Okay, well, it appears we don't have any further questions. However, Billy and I will stay on the line for another 5 minutes or so. So if you do have any questions, feel free to submit them in the chat. And if not, we'll give you 10 minutes back in your day. And thank you very much for your time.
And also, you can go to our website at cireson.com and get help with questions there, or our email address is billy.wilson@cireson.com and katie.dyer@cireson.com. Feel free to send us questions, and we'll try and either answer them or get you the answer.
Absolutely. Tom, yes, we will post this this recording on our Vimeo site, and that is going to be available within the next day or two. And our Vimeo site is vimeo.com/Team Cireson.
Here's another question. In your demo, you showed a list of IR types. In this list, you used the word problem and issue. How do align to ITIL with the use of problem in these cases, and what issues do you see with other customers mixing these terms in this way? No, I completely understand. ITIL designates something to be a problem is something completely different, and you notice that because there's a completely separate class for that. Honestly, the reason it says problems in mind, because that's the default out of the box. I tend to use the term issue to locate with incident instead of, I try to make the language a little more plain for the end user. So it's a great catch there. That's something I'm probably going to change. Instead of saying problems, You know, an end user does not distinguish between what is an incident as a problem. Everything to them is a problem or it's an issue. So, you know, if you're trying to keep as ITIL aligned as you can and want to keep those values separate, but at the same time don't want to have to indoctrinate your end users on ITIL terminology, then you want to try to find that happy medium. Great question. And Brian has posted that there is a feature request out there for setting up different email connectors for, or send email connectors from different departments based on what it is. So check out the community website, do a search for advanced email notification connector, and vote up Brian's suggestion, because the suggestions with the most votes tend to make it into the development cycle. Well, I think that's it for questions, Katie.
All right, we'll go ahead and end the session. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Billy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.